Good afternoon, everyone. It's 1:59, and we're going to call this meeting to order. We are sitting as the Committee of Adjustment, and we do need to change our nameplates if we haven't. We are present with 5 committee members, and we do have our Planning Department staff here. Our second item on our agenda is our land acknowledgement statement. The Township of Hamilton is situated within the traditional territory of the Mississauga, Anishinaabe, and Chippewa nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations. Our work on these lands respectfully acknowledge their resilience and their long-lasting contribution to the area now known as the Township of Hamilton. Item 3 is yours, Jennifer.
This is a public hearing. These are public hearings for applications under the Planning Act for 1 minor variance and 2 severance applications. In order, the applications will be reviewed in the order on the agenda. The chairperson will announce the application and I will provide a synopsis of the planning report. The report's available on the municipal website. The floor will be opened to members of the public to make a presentation to the committee in the following order. Those in support of the application, those in opposition to the application, those seeking clarification, and finally the applicant. All persons that are wishing to speak to the application must address their comments or questions through the chair. And we advise that before speaking, you must clearly and slowly state your name and address so that the Secretary Treasurer can ensure the record is complete. Members of the committee can ask questions or make comments. And the Committee of Adjustment may make a decision on the application. And when they're making a decision for the application, they'll provide their reasons for the application. Anybody requesting a copy of the notice of decision must do so in writing to me, Jennifer Current, Secretary Treasurer of the Committee of Adjustment.
Thank you, Jennifer. Our next item of business is confirmation of the agenda. And could I have that, please? Moved by Larry, seconded by Mark. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. The item 5 is our declaration of pecuniary interest, and we do have that submitted, and it's by committee member Bruce Butter, as he is the applicant. And as we move towards that application, we will give Bruce a moment to transition elsewhere. Are there any other declarations of pecuniary interest? Seeing only the one, that shall be recorded. Item 6 on our agenda, Committee of Approval of Previous Meeting Minutes. Prepared motion that the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meetings held on October 10th, 2023 be approved. Can I have a motion, please? Moved by John, second by Larry. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Quickly moving on. There is no business from the previous minutes. Item 8 on our agenda, new business, minor variance. And this is minor variance 2023-20, minor variance Smith and Southward, application number A0623. Jennifer, would you please?
Certainly. Through you, Chairman Gibb. This application is for a minor variance. The property is located in part of Lot 21, Concession 2, and it is a vacant property, but it is located east of 8215 Dale Road. The applicants, Kenneth Smith and Julie Southwood, are applying for a reduced front setback. The reduction will be 5 meters to permit a 15-meter front setback instead of the normally required 20-meter setback. The property is located west of Burnham Street. On the south side of Dale Road. As I mentioned, it's currently vacant. There's a water course that traverses the property along the rear of the property. And that water course requires has a GRCA regulated area, which means that much of the property is regulated by the Conservation Authority. Lands on both sides of the property are developed with single detached dwellings and accessory structures. And on both sides, those buildings are located closer to County Road, Dale Road or County Road 74 than our zoning bylaw permits. So the zoning bylaw the minor variance requested that would permit a 50-meter setback from the front property line is consistent with that's provided on either side of it. Dale Road Public School is located immediately north of the subject property. And the surrounding lands to the south are large agricultural fields that are under active cultivation. The property is in the agricultural designation. Generally, lot creation isn't permitted in the agricultural designation by all planning documents. That's the provincial policy statement, that's the county official plan and the township official plan. However, all of those documents do contain provisions for existing lots of record to be developed. And so this is an existing lot of record, and they're requesting a minor variance to permit construction of a house and expand the building envelope on the property. So the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement. It's consistent with the policies in the county official plan and the township official plan, all of which allow existing lots of record in the agricultural area to be developed. The property is not located on the Oak Ridges Moraine, so we don't have to worry about the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan. And in the township's official plan, it contains 4 tests for addressing a minor variance. The tests are: the variance must be minor, it must be desirable and appropriate, it must maintain the general intent of the zoning bylaw and maintain the general intent of the official plan. In terms of whether or not a variance is minor, it's not necessarily a numerical number or a numerical value that we evaluate. It's how it impacts surrounding land uses and impact on adjacent properties, that sort of thing. And in this case, both the property on the east and west, direct east and west, are located closer to Dale Road than currently permitted in our zoning bylaw. They're permitted, the one property to the east is about 15 meters from the front property line, which is the same as what the applicant is applying for. And the one that was on the west side. The one on the east side is closer at just between 10 and 11 meters. So it's even closer to County Road 74. So impact on adjacent land uses is minimal if existent. Actually, the property owner of 8215 Dale Road called the municipal office. They weren't able to be here today, but they wanted it to be known that they were in support of the application and they had no concerns. They noted that their house was only 50 feet or 15 meters from their front yard. So that's the first test. It's minor. The second test, is it desirable and appropriate development or use of the land? Well, the lot was created for a rural residential use, and the proposed variance will facilitate the construction of a single detached dwelling on the property with a little larger building envelope than what is currently available. There is a building envelope available on the property, but it's about 8.8 meters or 29 feet. So this will allow a little more flexibility, giving them about another 5 meters of flexibility. So it is desirable and appropriate for the location. Does it maintain the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw? The property is zoned rural residential. Rural residential development is anticipated, so it's demonstrated that it's desirable and appropriate. And does it maintain the general intent of the official plan? The official plan does allow for existing lots of record to be developed, existing lots of record for rural residential lots to be developed in the agricultural area. So it is appropriate. Now, one of the things we have to look at, because it is in the agricultural area, or basically even in the rural area, is impact on surrounding agricultural operations. A livestock barn was identified at, it was further to the east on, west on Dale Road. Sorry, it was 8134 Dale Road. It's an unoccupied livestock barn, and it's located quite a bit off the north side of Dale Road. An MDS calculation wasn't prepared because the MDS guidelines allow for, I didn't even bother with the MDS calculation because where they call them 4 intervening residential uses between the livestock barn and the proposed use. You don't have to do an MDS calculation to see if there would be you're allowed to have a reduction, but there was no sense in even calculating it because there were 4. There are also a couple of other livestock operations in the area, but they are even further away. And again, there's the 4 intervening residential land uses. So it's my recommendation that the variance be approved, that it meets the 4 tests of a minor variance. I haven't received any public comments in opposition to it. The neighboring land uses are closer to the county road. One thing that I will say is that I should have mentioned it earlier, the zoning bylaw requires that we comply with the setbacks, the county setbacks, and the county requires a 30-meter setback from the center line of Dale Road. And in some cases where the county road is constructed in the middle of the road allowance, that exceeds the requirements of the township zoning bylaw. But in this case, the county setback actually is less than the municipal setback because the Dale Road is actually constructed on the northern portion of the road allowance. So they can meet the 50-meter setback, 50-foot setback from the front property line. They can still comply with the 30-meter setback from the center line of the county road. So with this application, it seems it's in keeping with the area, maintains the intent of the official plan and the zoning bylaw, and it complies with provincial policies. So the recommendation is that the requested variance be approved.
Thank you, Jennifer. Excuse me. Process requires that we establish in the audience if there is anyone here in support of the application.
That's
The applicant, well, actually, you're more than welcome, but yes, we will recognize you in a moment, just in case there's questions. So no one here in support above and beyond the applicant. Is there anyone here in opposition to the application? Is there anyone here seeking clarification on the application? And coming back to you, the applicant, would you like to speak to the application or would you like to answer questions if there are any? Okay. And to our planning staff, I'm sure you know the applicant and the address and can record that information.
Yes,
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Are there any? Please, motion. Seconder. Mark, Larry. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried. Reasons?
You can just put the reasons as per the planning analysis in the.
That sounds great. Thank you.
No answers required. Your minor variance is approved, albeit there is an appeal process. And a number of days after the notice of decision, you will receive final notice. If you have any questions in the interim, please feel free to reach out to our staff. Our next item of business is a consent. And it's consent application number B12-23. And the applicant is here with us. And Jennifer, when you're ready, I'll turn this over and let you speak to the Zanziak application.
Certainly, through you, Chairman Gibb. This application applies to a property at 3413 Lacey Road in part of Lot 22, concession 4. The property is owned by Peter and Lori Zanziak. And the purpose of the application is for the creation of a new vacant rural lot. The purpose of the application, the purpose of the application is to create a vacant 2.24 hectare vacant rural lot from an existing 3.3 hectare property located, as I said, at 3413 Lacey Road. This is a copy of the applicant's survey sketch that was submitted and attached to the report. The severed lot will have 73 meters of frontage on Lacey Road, and the retained lot will have 87 meters of frontage on Lacey Road and 109 meters of frontage on Gibb Road. The area of the severed lot is 2.24 hectares, and the retained lot will have an area of 1.09 hectares. The property is located at the southeast corner of Lacey and Gibb Road. It's developed with a single detached dwelling and 3 accessory buildings, all located in the northwest corner of the property. The severed parcel encompasses a cleared area which is currently being cultivated for agricultural purposes. I contacted the applicant, who indicated that soybeans were grown this past season and winter wheat has been planted on the property already. There is a transport trailer located along the front yard of the proposed severed lot. And I went back a few years and looked at aerial photography, and it appears that it's been there for a few years. The trailer is not a permitted use, and I did contact bylaw department to discuss removal of the trailer. I've also just notified the owner, who is aware of this also. Surrounding land uses include rural residential uses along the south side of Gibb Road and large tracts of agricultural land in the surrounding area. There were no livestock barns noted in the immediate area during my site visit. However, when I looked at air photos, properties south of the subject lands on Lacey Road, there does appear to be an old barn. However, a portion of its roof is missing. And I contacted the building department, who don't have any record of a building permit for improvements to that barn. So the property is located in Camborne, a designated settlement area on Schedule A to the township's official plan. The provincial policy statement encourages residential development to be focused in designated settlement areas. There are no natural heritage features or hazards that were identified on the subject property, and the property is appropriately sized to accommodate the required private services. Northumberland County Inspection Services reviewed the application and had no objection. The provincial policy statement requires that we look at minimum distance separation between livestock barns and proposed new uses. And in this case, while there was a livestock barn identified at 3335 Lacey Road, an MDS calculation was not prepared, since a good portion of the barn was missing a roof and it was deemed not to be suitable for housing livestock. The growth plan, so the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement. The growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe also contains policies which direct growth to settlement areas and policies for the protection of natural features. Again, there were no features identified on the property. The property is not located on the Oak Ridges Moraine, so that Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan doesn't apply. And the property is designated rural settlement area in the county official plan, which is intended to be the focus of growth within the rural areas. In the Hamilton Township official plan, settlement area, it's the properties that designated settlement areas, which are intended to be the focus of concentrated residential development. Permitted uses are residential, accessory dwelling units, some commercial and light industrial. The proposed severed lot is for residential purposes, rural. It's a rural lot because it is over 2 hectares, which complies with the rural provisions. And it's consistent with official plan policies. Section 11.4 of the Hamilton Township official plan contains land division policies. And these policies require the lots be of appropriate shape and size. There have been 2 previous severances from this property. They were taken off of Jib Road. And with this application, no further severances really are permitted at this point in time because the lot will pretty much be used up. While it's deep, it's not the severed portion is not large enough to be developed by plan of subdivision. So the application is consistent with the township's official plan. Now, in reviewing the township's zoning bylaw, the property is currently zoned marginal agriculture, which permits a broad range of uses, agricultural uses, and a single detached dwelling. The minimum lot size for the marginal agriculture zone is 2 hectares, and the minimum lot frontage is 60 meters. The proposed severed lot will comply with those zone requirements, so it doesn't have to be rezoned. However, the retained lot is only, I believe it's 1.09 hectares and has 87 meters of frontage. It won't comply with the minimum lot area requirement for the marginal agriculture zone, so it has to be rezoned to the urban residential first density zone, which will permit a single detached dwelling on a lot with a minimum of 45 meters of frontage. So the proposed retained lot will comply with that. There's 3 accessory structures on the proposed retained lot, and these structures are located closer to the road than the main dwelling. And section 5.252 of the zoning bylaw requires that in residential zones, accessory structures not be located any closer to the road than the main dwelling. And because these structures are located closer to the main dwelling, when the property is rezoned to an urban residential first density, it will need to be rezoned to a special urban residential first density zone, recognizing that those structures are located closer to the road than the main dwelling. Section 5.20.1F of the zoning bylaw prohibits locating or storing on any land for any purpose whatsoever any disused railroad car, truck, bus, or coach body, whether or not the same is situated on a foundation. So as I mentioned, there is a truck trailer that is located at the frontage of the proposed severed lot. And one of the conditions of consent is that trailer be removed from the property. So by including it as a condition of consent, the consent can't be finalized without that trailer being gone. I've mentioned that to the applicant and he is aware of it, and I think he already has plans to get rid of it. So subject to the proposed retained lot being rezoned to a special urban residential first density zone, recognizing the existing sheds that are closer to the road, both the proposed retained and severed lots will comply with the requirements of the Hamilton Township zoning bylaw. The application was circulated to a number of agencies. Ganaraska Region Conservation Authority commented that the property is not located within a GRCA regulated area and they have no objection. Ontario Hydro commented that they have no comments or concerns. Hamilton Township Public Works had no comments. Northumberland County commented that county and provincial land use policies allow for the creation of a new lot in rural settlement areas if it can be adequately severed or serviced, and they have no concerns. Notice of this application was circulated to all registered owners of land within 60 meters of the subject property on October 30th, 2023, and a sign was posted on the property and no public comments have been received to date. So the proposed severed lot is located in Camborne, a designated settlement area. It has frontage on a year-round municipally maintained road. There are no natural heritage or natural hazard features. And the recommendation is that it be approved. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement, complies with the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, and maintains the intent of both the County of Northumberland and Township of Hamilton official plans. So the recommendation is that it be approved, subject to the conditions that are contained in the recommendation.
Thank you, Jennifer. Again, process dictates that I ask, is there anyone present other than the applicant in support of the application? Is there anyone present in opposition to the application? Is there anyone seeking clarification on the application? Coming back to the applicant, would you like to speak to the application, or would you like to answer questions if there are any?
Well, I can certainly answer questions, and Ben Goody's gonna take that trailer. I've already made that arrangement. And the condition will make my wife happy because she wants to climb it. And I did answer the other question.
Thank you, although when you get home, that may be more information than you should have shared. To our committee, are there any questions or comments? Questions or comments? Motion, please. Moved by John, seconded by Bruce. To approve. All those in favor? And of course, that approval comes with the conditions set forth in the planning report.
I am just going to note that number 4 of the planning report, it says that that a zoning bylaw be in effect for both the severed and retained parcels, or for both the retained parcel pursuant. I should have struck the word both. At first, I was going to rezone the severed and the retained, but then I realized only the retained needed to be rezoned. So that will be that condition.
Motion has been moved and seconded with the modified comments on the conditions. Peter, did we vote? Yeah, we voted. Peter, you've received conditional consent. You will receive notification. That notification will have the requirements that you will need to move forward with, and there are timelines that will expire. Please keep a note looking for those conditions and move forward with them. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask our staff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Our next application is the Bruce Butter 13-23 application. And Bruce, of course, is one of our committee members and has declared a conflict. So we'll just hesitate for a second while Bruce transitions. And when that is in order, Jennifer, I'll turn the mic over to you in respect to B1323, please.
Certainly, through you, Chairman Gibb. This application applies to a parcel of land located at 4885 Westington Road, located in part of lots 21 and 22, concession 8. The property is owned by Bruce and Cindy Butter, and the purpose of the application is to sever a parcel of land for lot addition purposes. And the lot would be added to an adjacent property located immediately to the north, with the assessment rule number 1419000000541000000. It's a vacant parcel of land that was previously severed, and this land property that's being severed is going to be added to that property. So the proposed severed lot for lot addition purposes is approximately 1.66 hectares of land. The retained parcel will have an area of about 41 hectares. It's a very large property. The property is located on the Oak Ridges Moraine, and severance opportunities on the Oak Ridges Moraine are very limited. New lot creation is generally prohibited on the Oak Ridges Moraine. One opportunity for residential severance on the Oak Ridges Moraine is the severance of a surplus farm dwelling for the purposes of farm consolidation. But in that case, you have to rezone the retained portion to prohibit any further residential development on it. In this case, since the portion of the property that is being severed contains an existing dwelling, a barn, a grain bin, and a storage shed, as well as a detached garage, they're being added to an undeveloped property. So that property will now have a dwelling on it, and the retained portion, a dwelling can be constructed on it in the future, should they choose. So as I mentioned, the property is developed, it's an agricultural property. It's developed with a single detached dwelling, implement barn, livestock barn, storage shed, detached garage, and grain bin. All of the buildings are located in a cluster on Westington Road. This property has frontage on both Westington Road and County Road 9, but it's accessed from Westington Road. The existing dwelling at 4885 Westington Road is designated under the Ontario Heritage Act. The northern portion of the property, there's a forested area. That area is designated in the official plan as woodlands and is protected as a natural heritage feature. The proposed severed lots are located over 300 meters from that natural heritage feature. Okay, now the property is also identified as an agricultural resource under the Schedule B to the official plan. And that is the same basically as the agricultural designation everywhere else in the municipalities. Just on the Oak Ridges Moraine, they identify it as an agricultural resource. So it also needs to be protected. Surrounding land uses are predominantly large agricultural properties in this area. And Rice Lake is located, I think I measured it, I forget how far, it's north of the subject property. Compliance with minimum distance separation guidelines is required, again, but in this case, because the residential unit and the barn are on the same property, the MDS guidelines don't require the completion of an MDS calculation, and the barn can be located closer to the dwelling than would be required if they were on separate properties. So the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and the growth plan. It's also consistent with the Oak Ridges Marine Conservation Plan because the Oak Ridges Marine Conservation Plan does allow for lot additions. No new developable lot is being created with this application. The Northumberland County official plan designates the property Oak Ridges Moraine, and a range of agricultural uses are permitted. And consistent with the Oak Ridges Marine Conservation Plan, technical consents or lot additions are permitted. So the Hamilton Township official plan designates the property Oak Ridges Moraine Countryside and Oak Ridges Moraine Linkage. Both of those designations permit a broad range of uses. They're listed in the planning report. They include agricultural uses and a number of things. The linkage, both the linkage and countryside designation permit the same uses. However, the small scale commercial, industrial, and institutional uses and major recreational uses aren't permitted in the Oak Ridges Moraine linkage and the linkage zone, and they are permitted in the Oak Ridges Moraine countryside zone. But what's important is that the existing agricultural use is a permitted use in the Oak Ridges Moraine countryside zone. Now, the Oak Ridges Moraine Conservation Plan contains policies that allow for the construction of a dwelling on a property that exists as of date of, I think it was November 21st of 2021. And the existing lot of record that the lot addition lands are being added to, right now they could get the applicant could get a building permit to construct a dwelling on that property. They just have chosen, they don't want to build in that location. So they're adding the existing dwelling to that location which frees up the opportunity to build elsewhere on the retained portion. So the property is zoned Oak Ridges Moraine Countryside, Oak Ridges Moraine Linkage, Oak Ridges Moraine Environmental Plan Review on Schedule A. Again, agricultural uses are permitted in those zones, and the continued agricultural operation is what's going to happen on this property. The zone provisions that apply are those identified on Schedule M to the Township of Hamilton's zoning bylaw. Basically, the proposed retained and resultant lots. The resultant lot, when I say resultant lot, I mean the severed lot plus the benefiting parcel. So I should have been clearer with that on my schedule, and I will be clearer in the future when I'm doing lot addition applications. But it's the resultant lot includes the severed lot plus the benefiting. The application was circulated to a number of agencies. GRCA commented that they have no objections, that the lot addition lands aren't within a regulated area. Ontario Hydro commented that they have no comments or concerns. Township of Hamilton Building Department had no comments. Township of Hamilton Public Works, no comments. Northumberland County commented that they have no objections, but requested road widening to ensure that there's a 17-meter road allowance from the center line of County Road 9. This condition has been included in the recommendation. However, if it's demonstrated through the survey process that there is already a 17-meter road allowance, no additional land is required. Sometimes usually they just include that condition to make sure they have the land. If it's already there, they don't take more. Notice of the application was circulated to all registered owners of land within 60 meters of the property on October 30th, and a sign was posted on October 26th. No public comments have been received. The proposed severed lots located on the Oak Ridges Moraine and is being created for the purposes of a lot addition that will add the lands to the adjacent property, with the assessment roll number 14190009005410000. No new developable lot will be created with this application. There are no natural heritage features located on or within 120 meters of the severed lands, and both the proposed resultant and retained parcels are adequately sized to accommodate the required private services and are compatible with surrounding land uses. So the recommendation is that the application be approved, subject to the conditions contained in the recommendation.
Thank you, Jennifer. Again, process. Is there anyone here in support of the application? Is there anyone here in opposition to the application? And is there anyone here seeking clarification on the application? And of course, there is no one present to do that. Our applicant is, of course, our committee member and excuse me, and has removed himself from the meeting room. So we'll go to committee. Any questions or comments? John?
Question, Scott. With the heritage building itself, it just encompasses the building and the property it sits on, or is it what does it encompass for lot size?
It doesn't encompass the lot, it just encompasses the dwelling, the building.
Any other questions? I should like to provide a comment, and that is that historically, I have had concerns about the county road widenings. And our committee has dealt with them in the past. I still have concerns, but I also have the opinion that the request does exist there today. And this particular bullet point number 7, as our planning planner has indicated, will have minimal or no impact on the property. And as such, I won't debate bullet point or condition number 7 to any length. Motion to approve, Mark. Seconder, Larry. All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. Conditions as set forth in the planning report? Very well, we'll take another moment to transition back with our other committee member.
If you want in the future, you can just strike those, if you want to strike the road widening commission, I just put it in there because it's requested. I don't, if you want, you can strike it. It's up to the committee.
We'll talk offline.
Okay.
Bruce, it would only be due diligence if I didn't give you the preaching that I give every other applicant. You've received conditional approval. There's timelines. You will receive your notices of decision. Any questions, please feel free to contact staff. Item 10 is other business, and there is none. Other. Next item is adjournment. And that the motion is that the Committee of Adjustment meeting held on November 14th, 2023 be adjourned at 2:40 PM. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Mark, seconded by John. All those in favor of adjournment? Thank you.
I forgot to introduce Julia Pingle.
Well, so did I in the previous meeting. Well, I tried. No. I got.
Okay.